January 1841, Springfield, Illinois. The winter wind was biting, but the cold outside was nothing compared to the frozen void inside the heart of a tall, thin lawyer named Abraham Lincoln. His friends were so terrified for his life that they removed every knife, razor, and pair of scissors from his room. They kept a 24-hour watch, fearing that the man who would one day save a nation would first destroy himself. Lincoln wrote to a colleague during this time, saying, "I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face on the earth." We often see Abraham Lincoln as a mountain of granite, the unbreakable leader on the $5 bill, but the truth is far more human. Lincoln suffered from what was then called melancholy, a deep clinical depression that haunted him from his youth to the day he died. Yet, it was this very darkness that became his greatest teacher. It was the forge that created the iron-willed leader the world needed. His story teaches us that our deepest pain is often the source of our greatest power. For Lincoln, depression wasn't just sadness. It was a famine of the soul. He lost his mother at 9, his sister shortly after, and his first love, Anne Rutledge, when he was in his 20s. Each loss added a layer of shadow to his mind. In the mid-19th century, there were no therapy sessions or medications. There was only the long, lonely struggle. But Lincoln chose a path of transmutation. He decided that if he could not escape the darkness, he would learn to walk in it. He realized that his suffering gave him something many leaders lack, a profound sense of empathy. When you have looked into the abyss of your own mind and survived, you develop a unique kind of vision. You begin to see the suffering in others with a clarity that is almost supernatural. During the American Civil War, this empathy became Lincoln's superpower. He was criticized by his generals for being too soft on deserters or enemy soldiers. But Lincoln knew what it felt like to be broken. He understood that the men on the battlefield were not just pawns, but human beings carrying their own weights. His depression didn't beat him weights. His depression didn't make him weak. It made him the moral compass of a fractured country. But how did he survive his darkest nights? He practiced a form of perseverance that was quiet and stubborn. He realized that while he couldn't control the tides of his mood, he could control his response to them. He once told a young man, "The sense of obligation to continue is the only thing that keeps me going." He found a providential purpose in his pain. He began to believe that God or destiny had put him through the fires of depression so that he could endure the fires of war. This is the ultimate lesson of resilience. Pain is not a dead end. It is a preparation. Lincoln's depression also taught him the value of humor and storytelling. He was famous for his jokes, which often seemed out of place during a bloody war. But to Lincoln, laughter was a life. "Raft," he said. "I laughed," he said. "I laughed because I must not cry." He used humor as a shield to protect his fragile spirit so he could continue the heavy work of leadership. He taught us that even in our darkest moments, we must find the small lights, a story, a joke, a moment of connection to keep the shadows at bay. If you are watching this today and you feel the weight of your own darkest night, know that you are in great company. Depression often touches the most sensitive, the most thoughtful, and the most capable souls. Like Lincoln, you may feel that your mind is a battlefield, but remember that the very sensitivity that causes your pain is also the source of your depth. Your struggle is building a character that the comfortable and the lucky will never understand. The Civil War was the externalization of Lincoln's internal struggle. He managed the chaos of a nation because he had already managed the chaos of his own soul. When the war finally ended and the slaves were freed, Lincoln did celebrate with arrogance. He spoke of malice toward none and charity for all. This was the voice of a man who had been humbled by his own darkness and emerged with a heart of gold. Abraham Lincoln did not overcome his depression in the way we traditionally think. It never went away. It sat with him in the telegraph office as he waited for news from the front. It slept with him in the White House, But he integrated it. He made it his teacher. He showed us that greatness is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to use that struggle to serve something larger than yourself. Your melancholy may be the very thing that prepares you for your greatest work. Do not let the darkness convince you that your life is over. Lincoln stayed in that room in 1841 when he wanted to leave this world. Because he stayed, millions were freed. Because he endured, a nation was saved. Stay in your room. Endure your night. Your purpose is still being written, and the world is waiting for the wisdom that only your darkness can produce.